right, we are live. As you can tell, we got our throwbacks shirts on.
Yeah, I'm Steve Carollo,
and I've got my
for 3 generations.
and we got our phones on. We're listening in. So, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I got my son Tyler here with me.
Hey everybody.
Who actually went to the Darlington race this past weekend. So the Southern 500 race at Darlington, and Tyler was there. He was dressed in, where was he going? He was
right
wearing
here,
this shirt
right behind.
Yeah, he was wearing my 1995 shirt from Kyle Petty, Coors Light Team, Savco Racing, and right now he's wearing the Rayovac shirt from I believe that was '99 whenever Sterling Marlin ran in a Busch Series race, and I think we only ran that car, that sponsor, maybe once or twice, and I actually have the postcard from that. But Tyler liked this shirt, and that's one he wanted to wear today, and it was also a Chevrolet at the time back then. So
yeah, this is a throwback hat as well. This is the Winston Cup from 1998. So you can see on there, it says 1998 Winston Cup, and then tell them about the shirt you got on there.
All right, so if you don't know me, I'm a 25-year NASCAR engine builder, actually retired 3 months ago, and I was also a 7-year jackman. This was 1996, the shirt that I wore as a jackman before we started wearing fire suits, which was the following year. We wore fire suits from 97 till 2001, which was my last year doing it. I also own Hamscapes Landscape Equipment Repair Company, and Tyler does some work for me there. And yep, there you go. I was a 5-year dealership technician, and now we are right here in the beautiful Randy Marion studio in downtown Statesville, where I'm one of the Chillbillies right here, as you can see, right there, Chillbilly Hamm. So we listen. You can listen to us on WAMEradio.com or 92.9 550 call letters WAME. We are WAME Chillbillies on Facebook, and WAME 92.9 and 550 on Facebook also, and the Drive at 5 page. So a lot of you already listen in, so thank you for doing that. But I've got my Bahamas shirt on because we flew over to Bahamas. I haven't been there in a few years, but when I was flying over it, I was thinking they're about to get hammered by a Dorian. So prayers and thoughts go out to them, as well as I guess Paul's doing good down there in Florida. I see Paul on here with us, and some reason it says I'm unable to connect to chat, but I can get to chat on my phone. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that on my phone. So yeah, we got Paul down there. We got who else we got in Florida?
Scott Trevinson down there. Just pray for him to be safe. He's out on his boat, so
yeah,
he's risking it, but hopefully he'll maintain and be safe through the storm.
Yeah, I think he'll be just fine. He's out there. He sent me a video last night from, he was somewhere near Palm Springs, I think it was, somewhere.
He was outside of somebody's house. Whose house was it?
Well, no, he was in his boat, but he was
outside. Yeah.
Probably, I don't know, 100 yards out in the water or something like that. He had zoomed in. Yeah, prayers for all those people down there affected by it, in the Bahamas especially. They got hammered. Some places are like 20 feet underwater. It's just crazy. And I also want to say happy birthday to Rachel Rodman.
Happy birthday.
Rachel Rodman's birthday, I believe it was Saturday, so she's had a birthday weekend. And also happy birthday to Alec, who is Terry Quinn's grandson. I believe he turns, I'm not going to say 7, I believe. So he just had a birthday actually last Friday. So happy birthday, Alec. That's Alec with an ALUC. Let's see what else we got going on here. Yeah, and D-Lo had some surgery, and hopefully she's doing good, and she could join us again real soon. D-Lo Mosley. So yeah, Rachel, hopefully you had a good birthday. You can tell me how was your birthday on here, and then also Terry, how was Alec's birthday? And we got back just in time. We were down there Saturday till Saturday. We came back, and we were flying over the Bahamas. I took a lot of video and pictures, and then we could see the hurricane was way off in the distance, but it was headed right towards them. And we hit a little bit of turbulence coming up the Florida coast. We actually went a little bit further west in Florida to miss some of the weather that they were having down there. But yeah, we had a good time. It was a nice day. We had one day, I think it was Wednesday, that we hit the outer bands of Dorian. So we had one full day of just thunder and lightning, and it was crazy. And I put a video on if you want to check it out on here. Most of you probably seen it, but yeah, it was pretty wild. That was the first time I'd really been on an island during a hurricane, and so pretty hair raising. I can't imagine being down there in the Bahamas right now.
And we were just watching the news, and they were showing Freeport, Bahamas, and there was cars all the way up to the wheel wells, and just houses that were looking like they were underneath the water. So definitely prayers for Freeport and all those places in the Bahamas. We've been there before. It's beautiful, and it's unfortunate that it's getting affected by the weather like that, but that's just Mother Nature.
Yeah, it is, and it's like it's going to turn north, and then hopefully it'll head on out of here. But there's a lot of places, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, that are evacuations, mandatory evacuations.
There was people talking about it at the race. I heard a guy when it started raining, we were underneath the tent with a bunch of people, and there was a guy saying he was from Myrtle Beach, and they were already calling for evacuations the day of the race day. So yeah, they were already telling people to prepare and head out early. So.
All right, so we're going to talk about the Bojangles Southern 500 that was held at Darlington Raceway, and as I said, Tyler was there. So Tyler, what'd you think about your first trip to Darlington?
Well,
you haven't actually been there yet.
We got there about 1:30, and there was what's really nice about the track is there was no traffic. We got right in the breeze, got parked, and the weather felt great. And then about 3:30, we decided to go do some of the vendor stuff and check that out. And the weather looked nice, and I saw some really dark clouds over by the track. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, the rain just started coming down, and that was the early spout before. And then, all that rain was coming down, and everybody was packed underneath the little vendor tents and stuff like that. So after that, we go and do our credential stuff, and we go to the infield, and it stopped raining for that, probably for about another hour and a half, and then that's when the rain just started moving in again. But it was a great experience, just unfortunately the rain came, but that's just part of it. You deal with that. Me and Dad went to the racetrack to Charlotte one year, and we had to deal with the
it was a 600.
Rain,
of course, it rained.
On and off. They come out to dry the track, and that's a long process. But luckily at Darlington, they did pretty good at saying, it's going to take this long. And they were pretty accurate. It's going to take this long, and the race will probably start at this time. And they had the track dried up, and they started National Anthem when they said they were. So it was none of that. Luckily, it was the rain came, and it went instead of just bam and drying at the track. Rain comes again, dries at the track. That's a pain.
Worst time in the world to be at the racetrack whenever the rain comes and then it goes and then it comes back. And then it's automatically another couple hours to get the track dry. And Chad Howder says, rubbing elbows with old Boyer. Yeah, Tyler was rubbing elbows with he had a picture with, who else did you get a picture with?
I had a picture with Kyle Larson, a picture with Harvick, a picture with Boyer, a picture with Austin Dillon. And I believe that was it. Those pictures started off whenever we walked around the pits, and all of a sudden I see Joey Logano going in where we were using the bathroom at. And I said, hey, there's Joey Logano. I said, maybe he'll come back. My buddy Colt said, no, they're going to the driver introduction. I said, well, let's go through there and let's try to catch him on the way. So the picture with Kyle Larson I got was on the way. And then after the driver introductions, we went down on pit road, and I got real close to a bunch of drivers. And, I just asked, hey, can I get – some of them were walking in their cars. I'd just say, hey, can I get a picture? And most of them said, come on, take a picture. So –
And you saw Dog the Bounty Hunter.
I saw Dog the Bounty Hunter during the rain delay. He went into the bathroom, and everybody was getting their cameras ready. And I was right there at the exit of the bathroom. I said, Dog, can I get a picture? He said, I'm in a bad mood later, man. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, I can't get a picture later. I'm not going to see you later. But, it was still cool to see him up close. And, but
yeah, right. So the other drivers were pretty cool about it. I posted that picture on Twitter, and it's got like 25,000 views or something. But Boyer said cool and did it. Well, he did that right there.
Yeah, Boyer actually. There was a video on my buddy's coach Snapchat, and when I walked up to him, he said, He said, what did you drag in here? And it was me wearing that shirt, and I started telling him it was my dad's shirt from back in the day, and we had a short little conversation. It's hard to get a long conversation with the drivers, but then we eventually got our picture. And one of the coolest pictures was a picture with I have to post it. It was with Austin Dillon, and he had a couple old school girls that were dressed in old school stuff. It was one of them was his wife, and one of them was, I believe, his Jackman and tire changer's wife, and they were wearing what looked like kind of like a gold member from the Austin Powers. They were kind of wearing that type of
I was wondering if I know his Jackman.
Yeah, actually. Maybe I can.
So this hat right here is from Blaze Alexander when I jacked for Blaze in 2000. The old track phone car, 81, WCW. I got to meet a lot of the wrestlers that year.
Might be kind of hard to see.
Throwbacks.
There's that picture with Austin Dillon.
There you go.
And his throwback. That's his girls that he had with him when he was coming off of the driver introductions. He had his His wife's the one with the blonde hair, and then I think, like I said, his tire changer, Jackman's wife, is the other lady picture there.
Yeah.
So I got some cool selfies with the drivers, and I wasn't expecting it, but I guess when you're at the track and you have the infield pass, you just never know what you're going to see. So
Yeah.
and shout out real quick to the 38 car who got us the tickets. Me and my buddy Colt. I appreciate that very much. He got us some cold passes, and if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have been at the racetrack. So shout out. I don't know his name exactly, but shout out to whoever it was, the crew member of the 38 car that got us
There you go.
those passes.
All right. Good deal. So yeah, I'm wearing my throwback glasses from '96, my old gargoyles, and I actually wore them with the same shirt back in the day. So the top 10 results we had. Eric Jones, he's 23 years old. He won his first race, and his first race in 100 starts. So that was pretty impressive for a 23-year-old.
It's only his second win in the whole. And he won one time at Daytona.
Oh,
so that's his second win ever.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know if it was a Busch race or a Cup race, but he had one win over in Daytona.
Daytona, okay.
And that was his.
For some reason, I was thinking that was his.
Yeah,
first.
that was last year. He won at the Daytona.
Oh, this year, okay.
Yeah, this year it's his first win, but
yeah. All right, good deal. So Eric Jones, we had Kyle Larson second, Kyle Busch third, Kevin Harvick fourth, Brad Keselowski fifth, Clint Boyer sixth, Kurt Busch seventh, Matt DiBenedetto eighth, Paul Menard ninth, and Austin Dillon 10th. So that was 3 Toyotas, 3 Chevys, and 4 Fords, rounding out the top 10. So, of course, the first stage winner was Kurt Busch. The second one was Kyle Busch. And then Eric Jones was the race winner, as we said. So did you see a lot of fans out there? You think there was a lot of fans?
There was a lot of fans prior to the rain. And one thing that I noticed was that a lot of the fans I just didn't get that throwback feel. Me and my buddy Cole, he was sporting the Tide old I think it was a Ricky Rudd throwback. He was sporting that shirt. He got a lot of attention, and I was sporting the one that Dad showed you earlier here. And we were about the only people that were really wearing throwback stuff, and I was kind of disappointed because I really liked the throwback feel, and I was just.
At least you stood out.
Just didn't get the vibe from everybody wearing the throwback, but there was a lot of fans there up until the rain. And then when that rain came, I feel like people kind of didn't know if the race was going to go on or not. And a lot of people kind of filed out because we walked back to the parking lot. And there was a lot of empty spots, but there was still a good turnout when the race started. But a lot of people with that rain, it kind of pushed some people out, and they thought maybe the race wasn't going to go on or something. But
yeah, that's the way it goes when the rain comes. You should show them the picture of you and with the Earnhardt deal.
Oh yeah, there was a guy at the track who was walking around. I swear he looked like if Earnhardt was still alive, that would probably be Earnhardt. And let's see where I can go up. Yeah, there he is right there. There was a guy, and a lot of people were taking pictures with him, and he didn't mind it at all. And he had the fire suit on, he had the shades on, he had the whole look and mustache. And man, it was just like, it was kind of chilling to see somebody like that at the racetrack that you almost think is Dale Earnhardt. But of course, it's not him. But it gives
a bit shorter too.
I never got to meet Dale Earnhardt, but if I did, it almost felt like what he would look like, and it just.
What's funny about it?
Crazy.
I was hanging out in the pits with Kerry Earnhardt in Homestead in 2001. So yeah, it was right after his dad had died that year, and we were standing there, me and Renee, his wife, and then Kerry, and somebody walked by and they had the mustache and had the whole deal looked like Dale Earnhardt, and then they just walked right by us, didn't realize that was his son standing with me, and Kerry just kind of looked over at me and was like, and then he said, there'll never be another one. So
yeah, it's like a ghost. It almost feels like a ghost, but it's it's not the real person.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a quick picture of my buddy that I was talking about. My buddy with the Colt shirt, with the my buddy Colt, he had the Tide shirt on. There's a quick picture of him. Everybody was commenting on his, and that's the fan. That's the guy with the DeWalt shirt asked us to take a picture with him.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, everybody loved that Tide shirt. It's so bright. I think it got a lot of attention. So it was cool that people were recognizing the throwback and saying they liked our shirts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yep. So the fastest cars. What was your opinion? Who did you think was going to win, and what was the fastest cars?
Originally, I thought that my pick was Keselowski. I just thought he was going to win. He qualified really well. My buddy Cole, something I keep talking about Cole. That's who I went with. On the way there, he was getting gas, and he wasn't even looking at it. And the gas popped up 42, and he said, "Oh, I think Kyle Larson's going to win." I was like, but Kyle Larson ended up finishing pretty well. But some of the faster cars out there, I really think the 18 And, the 18 to me just looked like he was the fastest car. At one point, he had a good 8 car length on everybody else, and his brother Kurt had a really fast car.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 car looked really good, and Larson, he took me by surprise, but his car looked really fast. So I'd have to say the 42 car, the 18 car, the 1 car, and the 2 car, even though the 2 car did have a little bit of trouble, not much, but those cars really stood out to me as far as fastest car.
Yeah, well, the 2 car led the first lap, I guess, after took the lead from William Byron on.
Yeah, he took off pretty quick.
And that was lap 1, and then William Byron's racing on by lap 5. It was Byron was still racing with Keselowski, but it was hard for him to try to regain the lead.
Yeah,
and
Byron
then,
didn't hold on very fast. He kind of,
Mhm.
he had the lead, and then he kind of just
he lost. It sounds like
non-existent.
by lap 8, Kurt Busch took over second from Byron. And then lap 10, after starting at the rear due to the engine change, Kyle Busch made his way up to 21st. So he was moving up to the field. Did you notice him moving up to the field?
Yeah, it's crazy because he qualified what was his qualifying position? I think he had written on there was like he qualified somewhere in like the 30s, didn't he? I think, or something like that, way back. And I think he qualified 31st maybe or something like that. And he worked his way all the way up. And before you even knew it, before you even knew it, like you said, he won the second stage. And man, he was just checked out. The whole race, he looked pretty good when he got up there to the front. He just looked consistent. So
yeah,
I'm surprised he didn't win the race. I kind of started having him as my pick halfway through the race after he was smoking everybody else. But
yeah,
he had he had a good car and just had some late trouble at the very end. Late trouble.
So I'm gonna read through some of these right quick because I'm not able to see it on my computer on my laptop. So, Rachel says, "Cool picture of Austin Tyler," and Chad says, "You got to wing it. Be prepared in the infield. That's for sure." Tom Robinson says, "I love the old uniforms, David, but those bow ties on them are ugly as hell." And then Rachel Robbins says, "David Reagan, number 38." And then Artie Ford, hey guys, and David. Rachel's asked a question. David and Tyler, what were your favorite throwback paint schemes? They
did a poll on that actually, and the one that won was the Days of Thunder. That's the one that had the biggest popular fan vote was the Days of Thunder. But they had the one I showed you. Jimmy Johnson was running his old truck paint scheme, and that was a nice one. It was in the voting. My personal favorite was the Victory Junction, just because of the whole Adam Petty thing. That was my personal favorite.
43 car, 45 originally.
There was some nice ones. The 2 car had a really nice one.
I think that was my sentimental favorite. Of course, it gives me chills every time I see that one from way back from Adam. And then my favorite though was the City Chevrolet, the green, and that was my favorite.
I did take some pictures of
what
some
it looked
cars.
like.
Yeah, I did take some pictures. There's that old Coors Light. Scott Trevinson really loved that car.
Oh yeah,
that's the old car. And then that Miller Lite car was just. There's the Victory Junction. When I did that, happened to get a picture of the Victory Junction.
Hey, Linda Jinks. Hey, Rachel.
There's the Victory Junction car.
Race got sold out, which is great for NASCAR and the track, says Rachel. Chad Hyder says, I was thrilled it sold out. Yep.
Miller Lite scheme was really, really nice as well.
Chad says, I always liked Kerry. Hope he had done more to do back considering the equipment. Paul says, Mariel Lane is married to Paul Swan, tire carrier at RCO. Or maybe that was the girl you got your picture with, I think.
Who was it now?
Mariel Lane Swan.
Could have been, yeah.
And RD says he's got his first sponsorship ad for RD Gizmos for next year. Very good, RD. I've been kind of watching you going through all that stuff, and you sent me some samples. He says it's entry-level 4-cylinder. So that is pretty awesome. And Paul says, I can't believe the 18 car still finished third even after riding the wall for 2 laps.
Yeah,
that's what Tyler was telling me.
He hit the wall on that very last lap. He got up to like last 2 laps. I think he got up to that 2 car length, and then it backed up to like a 6 car length. And he was just I thought he was going to catch him at one point, but he ended up falling back. And then after hitting the wall a couple times, that really just kind of.
Terry Quinn says that was her favorite, that 00 Coors Light car. And then
that 00 was a nice
Rachel
car.
says that's awesome to see Adam Petty's paint scheme. It sure was.
One thing to mention real quick was that what I was telling Dad earlier is a lot of the crew members weren't wearing the throwback, fire suits and all that stuff. They were kind of wearing their regular stuff, and a lot of the fans weren't wearing the throwback. And that was kind of a disappointment not to have that throwback vibe.
It is a surprise.
If you're gonna do the car, you might as well go all out and give the crew members a fire suit and stuff, because they're just wearing their normal just like the Miller Lite car, they had the black paint scheme, but they're wearing blue stuff. You know, it's their same old, but
Yeah.
just go ahead and get the whole thing, and don't be
Teams are cutting corners everywhere they
all
can.
the teams. I didn't see any teams. You know, the Oscar Mayer, I think they already had it as a sponsor stuff.
Yeah, I did notice that. Even some of the drivers had a different color, like they didn't even have their.
I did watch a interview with Chase Elliott that was interesting. Whenever he was wearing a throwback Bill Elliott shirt, who won 3 times at Darlington, he did a interview of his where he stays at his RV, and he had on an old throwback Bill Elliott shirt. So that was cool to see him wearing his dad's old McDonald's scheme.
Yeah,
shirt.
and you know, I've got an old Bill Elliott hat somewhere.
Yeah,
that red hat. And that was
speaking of hat, I've got another throwback hat here.
Yep. What time did you end up getting home?
I did not get home till 5:30. I think we left the track around 2, and I lived 30 minutes from my buddy Colt's house. So after I got home, I had to drive another 30 minutes. But luckily I got to sleep the whole way. I didn't have to drive. But yeah, I was definitely tired. Got to sleep in a little bit the next day for Labor Day. So.
Yep. So Jimmy Johnson, you know, he was having a good run. He took 3rd from his teammate William Byron eventually on lap 17. Then Kyle Busch is now 15th on lap 28. There was a competition caution come out at lap 35. So the race off pit road sees William Byron leading, then Kurt Busch, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, and Jimmy Johnson. And then lap 49, the drivers use the apron entering and exit the corners, trying to find grip. You know, that track is very sandy. There's just sand blowing everywhere.
They were talking about on the scanner, there was a lot of sand on when you were exiting pit road.
That's Wally.
When you exit pit road, they were saying there was a lot of sand built up. You know, due to that rain and stuff, it's hard to get that track. And after all that rain, it's hard to get the track completely clean. And you know how it's on a bank.
Yeah.
So all that stuff's running right there. You get brand new tires, you run out of pit road, you're going straight through sand again. So
Rachel said I stayed with Nancy. We didn't get back till 4:30 a.m. That's crazy. And then Chad Hatter recognized your hat as Wally Dallenbach.
Yeah, it's actually got a signature on the back.
Yeah.
And speaking of fans, I met some fans from Illinois that I was talking to. Never heard of Bojangles. And
really?
They were talking about how they were trying to do a bucket list type thing.
They go eat them.
Go to the tracks and
Mr.
stuff
Jerry
like that.
out there.
But
if y'all don't know, we got this window out here outside the studio, and people walk by and wave to them during the show.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine the fans that travel from, you know, Illinois and places like that had to wait out the rain delay, and they were thinking, oh, man, I came all the way out here. I might have to come back tomorrow and pay another night for a hotel.
Yeah,
Just the anxiety of coming from another state. Because, I mean, all it was a drive for me, but people that fly in, you got to think about how difficult it is.
Talking about the sand and stuff on the track, and I know I've told y'all this story before, but I'll tell it again. But I was wearing this shirt, and it was in 1996, and I was Jackman for Kyle Petty. And so he comes in, I think it was our first stop. And actually, this is at Darlington. So the only time in my 7 years as a jackman, I missed the jack stop. So I hit the sheet metal on the side of the car and jacked it up. So there's a big hole in the side of the car. But eventually it caught a roll bar, and then I was able to get the car off the ground. I didn't have to stop and put it underneath the stop. Because if you don't know, there's a stop that hangs down from the bottom of the roll cage, or actually the bottom of the frame rail. And so I jacked up the side of the car. And so the whole race, Kyle was riding around getting sandblasted. And after the race, he gets out, sits against the pit wall. He's got towels around him, you know, and he's just like, he was totally exhausted. And I went out to him and I said, man, I am so sorry. And he was so nice about it. He just like, to this day, he just was like, don't worry about it. It's all good, you know. And then he tells me the story of whenever he was a jackman and he came running around the car with a big jack, slung it around like that, and it stuck right between the roll cage and his dad's car. And so then they had to try to get the jack out. And then the other time when he was changing tires, and he comes around changing, he said he was just hitting them frantic. And his Uncle Morris, he calls him Uncle Morris, was the crew chief, Maurice Petty. And he said he was hitting the lug nuts. And then he said whenever they took off, or his dad took off out of the pit, he was like, Morris was asking him, Uncle Morris said, how many lug nuts did you hit? He was like, so yeah, Kyle's pretty funny about that. If y'all ever meet him, get him to tell you that story and tell him that Hamm wanted you to tell him.
And that's one thing that makes a big difference is having nice drivers that'll tell you those stories. And I know one person I wasn't really impressed with, not to put anybody on blast, was Kevin Harvick. He didn't really seem like he wanted to take the time to take a picture with me. He just kind of rushed through it. But, you know, Clint Boyer, he was just very nice and just, wanted to, it was kind of being funny and, making conversation. And even Austin Dillon, he was like, I said, let me take a picture with you. He said, come on. And so I kind of crossed the yellow line and walked over there with him. And they, it's good to have drivers that are nice about it, not guys who are just out there just to,
exactly. They got to remember
it's good to have fan interaction.
The reason why they're out there, and the only reason why they're out there, is if you didn't have the fans, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Fan interaction is very important. That's one thing that gets you a lot of fan. I mean, it's just key.
Yeah.
Because all those people are coming from distances and all that stuff to see you.
That's right. So Kurt Busch won stage 1, followed by Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin. So here's some of your notes. Johnson was the only driver in the playoff bubble to earn stage points. So he actually did pretty decent with this race, and I'll go over the point standings here in just a minute. So by lap 108, Jimmy Johnson is up to 3rd place after the restart. Joey touches the wall with no caution on lap 117, and then Joey gets on 118. He gets in the back of Chase Elliott, but Elliott keeps it off the wall and keeps fighting for 7th. You need to have a comment about Joey Logano.
Joey Logano, at one point, I think it was kind of towards the end of the race, he might have missed the pit, and he had to go all the way around the track again, and I think that cost him. They put him like a lap down, and I think by the end of the race, wasn't he like a couple laps down? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, he was 2 at one time.
Yeah, he was 2 at one time, but I know he came around to go into the pits, and he completely missed. And they say they were saying on the scanner it's really easy to miss the pits at Darlington, so. He came to go hit that pit and had to go completely back around, at a real slow speed just to get back into the pit.
Yeah, so Joey was pretty frustrated with Chase Elliott after an incredible battle, but the 22-year-old driver I don't know why I said you're wrong, voiced his frustration during it. He said, all right, he's going to hit the wall now, blank this kid.
But I will, Chase Elliott, he ran a really good race until I think he finished 19th. But, I will say for Chase Elliott, every time somebody mentions his name, I don't think of him as a great driver, but I was impressed with him during that race. Although he didn't finish, that's the biggest thing is finishing. He ran a good race, but you got to, it's all about where you finish. It's not, so he never led, nothing like that. He did run a consecutive. He was up there in the top 10 for quite a while, but he didn't end up finishing with 19. So.
Yeah, right. Rachel says, what do you think about the throwback using classic cars with modern safety adjustments? I'd love to see a Studebaker in a Hudson Hornet race.
I was thinking about that the other day. Some old cars.
That would be pretty cool to see. But the thing is, you got to think about we as fans, we want to see racing and we want to see the cool stuff and nostalgic stuff. But then the money that's involved in it, the Studebaker isn't making cars anymore, and the Hudson Hornet and all that stuff. So you always heard the expression "win on Sunday, sell on Monday." So that's where a lot of that you have to have that brand, brands to win the race. And because let's say a Hudson wins a race or a Studebaker, then it's going to be like the Chevrolet and Toyota and Ford are not going to be happy with that.
Yeah, they're not getting their endorsements and money and all that.
But yeah, Joey ended up finishing 14th.
That's not a bad idea. That would be cool to see a good throwback race. And most of the cars, they say they're Ford Mustangs, but they, so you could even make a car that it doesn't have to be exactly a Studebaker, but you can make a frame that kind of looks like that.
Just have an actual throwback race, knowing that that's what's going on.
As long as the Chevrolets and the Fords and the Toyotas are okay with that, because like you said, they got to get that's their endorsement, and their money, and their cars.
So on lap 200, Kyle Busch wins stage 2, followed by Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones, and Kyle Larson. And by lap 203, drivers exit pit road. Kyle Busch leading, and Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin. So 241, the bubble drivers are outside of the top 10. That would be Daniel Suarez in 11th, and Clint Boyer in 12th, and Ryan Newman in 15th. So Raymond got kind of hurt by this win by Eric Jones. So by lap 275, there was a caution for a big crash involving Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, and Michael McDowell. The wreck was caused by Daniel Hemrick slowed due to a tire going down from contact with Ryan Newman. All right, so lap 278, cars pitted that came out of Carson's leading, followed by Eric Jones, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, and Brad Keselowski. Let's see what else. Hamlin made 3 pit stops to fix his damage. Did you have something about Hamlin?
Yeah, Hamlin, I can't remember what lap it was, and I can't remember what segment it was. It's a long race, so you got to bear with me. But at one point, I don't know who got into him, but Hamlin was in the pit stop and making his pit stop, and I see him sideways with his front bumper right into the pit wall. So I think he got taken out by somebody, and that took a lot of damage out of his car. it was just a long night for Denny Hamlin. And I'm not a fan of him. A lot of people aren't a fan of him. So,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Yeah, so maybe they were happy with that.
That's part of NASCAR. That's just the way it goes. But it was wild to see that a wreck go on in pit road because you just don't see that all the time. You don't see it a lot, especially with somebody's car directly into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, so Matt DiBenedetto was up to 6th place about lap 283, and it was his highest spot of the night. I started the announcers getting excited whenever he got up there because, he's been doing really well. So this 289, this race has been up and down for bubble drivers. Here's how they run right now: Clint Boyer, Daniel Suarez, Jimmy Johnson, and Ryan Newman. And so by lap 294, Kyle Larson is trying to stay at the top and the bottom, get Eric Jones, but the number 20 is holding that spot. Here you go. Here's your race. So Alex Bowman hits the wall hard, forcing him to make an unscheduled pit stop for tires in the right to fix the right front damage. This is on lap 348, or actually the right side damage. So by 363, Eric Jones taps the wall, but doesn't affect his momentum. He's still Eric Jones is now 0.6 seconds ahead of Kyle Busch by lap 363. So then lap 365, Kyle Busch hits the wall hard coming off of turn 2. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. It was
and then he hit it again one lap later.
He couldn't stay off the wall. And when he was talking about the pit thing, that's a huge thing in the sport is the pits because a lot of people are sacrificing positions based off of how their pit times are going. And they were talking another huge thing when you listen on the scanner during the race, they say a lot of helpful things. And one big thing they talk about is how that's a sport. Dad used to do it. It's basically the pit crew is another sport. That's something that people do, and it's huge on the it's huge on the amount of for your position. You could go from 3rd to 8th or 3rd to 10th real quick because your pit crew doesn't get it done like they should.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. I saw some teams had some pit trouble, and
that's a major thing that can affect you, especially when it gets late into the race. You see cars pitting at their own time. Not everybody's going at the same time. You got people trying to time it at the right time and come in there, and then they might be leading for just a second, and then you don't time your pitting right. If you don't time your pitting right, that's the whole thing right there. If you got the wrong adjustments, don't get your fuel, don't get your tires, all that stuff.
That's right.
It costs you the race.
Lap 367, the checker flag goes to Eric Jones. So he won his second career Cup Series race and his 100th to start. That's what I should have said earlier.
And he said in his post interview, one of the first things he said was, "I'll look damn good. It'll look damn good to see my face on that trophy." So
how about that?
Young guy. He said, "If y'all want to come down here to the infield, I'll be partying all night long." I said, "That's that young 23-year-old."
Yeah. Just think he's just a year younger than you.
Just a year younger than me. He just
won two Cup races.
Yeah, won a race at Darlington. He's won 2 of the biggest races, Darlington, Daytona. I can't imagine being that age and winning those 2 races. I mean, that's significant.
So Chad Hatter says Hammond wrote a book, Real Men Work in the Pits. I'm going to have to he's basically my neighbor out there, Jeff Hammond. So I'm going to have to ask him about that. That's what I need to do.
There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that you just don't see going on. Like, all you see is the cars running around the track, but you don't see that behind the wall. But, last-minute preparation and just stuff like that goes on in the pits. And without your pit crew members, you won't have a team.
Oh, I can tell you right now, whenever I was going, we would get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and, of course, not a race, but we get there at 7 o'clock in the morning. By the time the race starts, I felt like I'd done walked 10 miles, and you're about exhausted by the time the race starts, but you just had to go on with it. So the night races were that much worse, especially ones you had to drive that morning and then go through the whole day, and then
not to mention if you're doing Busch race and the Cup race, and a lot of people look at NASCAR as a solo sport, but it's a team sport. Deep down, it's a team sport, and those guys don't get the recognition. You might hear about a crew chief. They might get a little bit of fame, but you don't hear about the whole crew, and it really is a team sport.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of those guys, they're retired athletes that might have played football or might have played something like that. Some of those guys are in the pit crew.
That's like I took a lot of my playing high school football. I think it really helped me whenever I became a jackman because I was already pretty strong and able to do it.
And you got to be in shape to do that stuff, not to mention the hand-eye coordination for doing the tires and stuff like that. That's not an easy job, and that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, for sure. So the post-race penalties were on Kyle Larson, William Byron, Matt DiBenedetto, Alex Bowman. Each of those had one loose lug nut. So Kyle Busch won the regular season championship for 2019, meaning that he wins that I don't know what he really gets for that, but now we're going to go in the next race. We got one more race before playoffs, I believe.
The
Pretty
Big
sure of that.
Machine Vodka 400.
There you go.
That's the whole name for it, the Big Machine Vodka 400.
I have not heard of Big Machine Vodka
Indianapolis.
in Indianapolis.
Yes.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite tracks, the Brickyard. I always enjoy watching the people kiss the brick at the end. It's a historical race. So.
Yeah. So my first time going to Indianapolis, I ended up spending most of my time in the gift shop. But every time you went to Indianapolis, they had the pit wall. We didn't have to use our pit wall banner. They would always have it painted. It was a white wall, and they would have the name of the driver and the car number and all that stuff right there on the pit wall. And it was a very, very nice place. The race was just amazing. Big crowds. I've got a lot of pictures on my Facebook. And but anyway, so my first race there was when Kyle was running in second. I believe he might have taken the lead at a time, but he ended up hitting the wall, and he hit the wall hard. He tore that car, broke his leg, all this stuff. So, so what I did was I went to the infield museum that they have there, or I'm sorry, the infield gift shop. They do have a museum, so I ended up walking through there too. But I went over to the gift shop part of it, and I was telling the girl I didn't have any money, but I'd like to have that, like a T-shirt, like what she had on. So she's like, "Well, I'll tell you what, I can give you this T-shirt." I said, "Well, I'll trade you my race day shirt." At the time, it was just a red shirt that said Savco Racing on it, and I had two of them, or Team Savco. And so, Team Savco '96. So I went, and she went and swapped out her shirt. I went and changed. I guess I put another shirt on, but we didn't go in together. Is what I'm trying to say. So I came home with that T-shirt, and then she went home with my shirt. So from every year since then, she would go out to pit road and take pictures and send them back to me and stuff. But yeah, that's how I got my Indianapolis shirt, and I may still have it. It may still be in the attic. I'm not positive. But Paul says over the years there have been crew members that got recognition, but they marketed themselves, like Chocolate Myers, Joey Knuckles, TJ Majors, plus others. Yeah, that's for sure. And
there's not a lot though. When it comes down to it, the big names that you hear are usually a crew chief. You don't hear a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a big tire, there's a big jackman. You see.
I'll tell you what happens there, and I had to do it. You have to sign a release saying that you basically give away your name to NASCAR. Like you don't get paid for your image or any of that kind of stuff. It's kind of the way that works out. They put my picture. I'd be on different things, but even mechanics catalogs, but I get free gloves.
And one big thing was that Hot Wheels car that you remember that? The Hot Wheels car that came with the little toolbox and a little car.
Yeah.
Everything had you in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Video game.
Yeah, the video games.
But when you look at it, you see the driver in the car. You're not really saying, "Oh, there's that person."
Right.
Unless you know the person personal, but you're not going to say, "Oh, there's so and so who's famous for being."
I had to sign over my royalties. Basically, is exactly what it was. Maybe I shouldn't have signed that paper, but then I'm pretty sure the company I work for would have said, "No, you're not going to the track." Then. Yeah. Terry Quinn's asking, "Did you see any retired drivers at Darlington?"
Did I see any? No, I didn't. The only people that I got to see a few drivers. I was walking around. And I got to see. I saw a bunch of crew members. I just didn't really know who they were. Mm-hmm. When it came to retired drivers and stuff, the closest I saw was somebody from the Wood Brothers, and he was an old guy. Just can't put a face to a name. I don't know who he is. He looked like he might have been famous, and I got a couple pictures with him. But that's the closest I came to seeing somebody who's probably retired. From NASCAR. I'm sure he drove at one point. I didn't get his name. I introduced myself and he didn't tell me his name, but
Paul?
No, I didn't see that.
No. Paul, is that what the name of my book should be? I'm just curious. He said A Life Like David Hamm. I was trying to figure out. But yeah, if you got an idea for a book, I've actually thought about it. If anybody would be interested in reading some of that, all the different experiences and things that I went through, it'd be kind of neat, I guess.
There's some interesting stuff that goes on the track, and you just would never even know it. And, one big thing we were talking about, especially, is like the sponsorships and stuff like that. It's interesting to know what goes into the depth of the sponsorships and all the stuff you could get back in the day, and now now they're so tight on things and what you can get for free at the race.
I mean, we used to get
interesting.
We had all these different little sponsors on our shirts and stuff, but we used to get one of them was the charcoal we got. It might have been on this shirt, but we would get beer and charcoal and all kinds of stuff there at the race shop. Chad Hutter says ham on wheat. Something like that. Yeah, all right. Keep the names coming. That's all right.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about post-race penalties. All right, so the cars that went to the back of the field were Eric Almirola. He went to a backup. Kyle Busch for an engine change, or for an engine. Reed Sorensen, transmission change. B.J. McLeod, unapproved adjustments. And Joe Nemechek, unapproved adjustments.
Joe Nemechek, man, he was. I feel for him. When I thought about him, I was thinking, man, he's out there just to finish because he was, I think, second to last. He was probably second to last the whole race, but he's still out there letting people go by.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think about people being in that car and you got people flying by you and you're trying to get out of their way.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it can be stressful being in a car and letting people pass you because you don't want to. If the leader comes by and you take out the leader by accident, I mean, that's
not a good deal. So in the point standings, we have we got 4 Toyotas, 8 Fords, and 4 Chevys, which is very good for the Ford camp. But we have Kyle Busch leading, Joe Logano second. He's 64 points behind. So Denny Hamlin third, Kevin Harvick fourth, Martin Truex fifth, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Brian Blaney 10th. And then we have a tie for 11th with Alex Bowman and Eric Jones. And then so with that, Eric Jones, well, I'll get that out in a minute. So William Byron 12th, Eric Almirola, I guess you could say actually 13th, 14th. Clint Boyer 15th, and then a tie for 16th would be Ryan Newman and Daniel Suarez. So that win by Eric Jones, like I said, it really hurt Ryan Newman. So hopefully he can stay up there and end up in the playoffs. So his chance to championship. So I've got some other NASCAR news. Cole Custer has been mentioned as an option for the 32, but Corey LaJoie may stay, which would make that a moot point. But, it's worth mentioning because I've heard that rumor. Front Row is an option for LaJoie if he leaves. SHR was seeking an alliance with Front Row, but now that seems to be off. I'd heard that for a couple of weeks, but apparently that didn't work out. So in 2020, any Cup driver who has been racing in the series more than 3 years will be allowed to run 5 races in the Xfinity or Truck Series. Right now, it's 5 full years and 7 races, but that's changing next year. So a couple of you had some questions for it. So I was going to have a couple questions for Tyler, one from Paul and then one from Tom. So Paul says, should you and your son or significant other pick a race to be an annual event?
We've been to 2 races together. We've been to Bristol. We've been to Charlotte. As far as annual race, I think Darlington would be a cool annual race because it's not that far away. And, of course, Charlotte. But we've been to Charlotte so many times. But Charlotte would be a cool annual race because we've been to Charlotte so many times together that it would be cool to keep going back and get that experience just because we've done it so many times.
I'll tell you what would be neat, I think, to make like a tradition where you go camp out at a certain track every year.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Let's say you go camp. You're planning on every October you're going to go camp at Charlotte for the road.
Charlotte has a bigger – it seems to me like Charlotte had a bigger infield and more room to camp because Darlington, it seemed like they had people, packed in there.
Yeah. And
speaking of that, have a lot of camping spots.
I think, like Rachel says, I think Darlington should have another race date. Like they used to. I mean, for years we went to Darlington twice a year.
Yeah.
Rachel says, "What do you think about the disqualification of Denny Hamlin for the Xfinity race? Do you agree with NASCAR's decision?" Well, I would agree with it on the disqualification. I think if it's key enough to where it actually did make, cause him to win the race, and then he was blatantly cheating, then next time they may think twice about doing that type of cheating. When they come back, they're going to say, well, we're not going to chance getting the race taken away from us because they're going to find it most likely, Yeah,
because if he cheats, then we just keep on going on. That's unfair to everybody else.
That's right. So we have another question from Tom. And Tom says, my question would be, he was closer to, talking to Tyler, he was closer to NASCAR kids at school, like say the Strickland's kids or whoever it was, where it was no big deal that his dad was in NASCAR traveling a lot. Holly was good friends, and I mentioned that Holly was good friends with Taylor for years, and they had the same classes in grade. Talking about Taylor Strickland, who is Hut Strickland's son, But Tyler, you remember you went to school with Tabitha. She was a couple years ahead of you, I believe.
Yeah, to me it's no different. You know, if I know somebody who, you know, their family might be close in NASCAR, it's just.
Oh, I guess what he's saying, was it a big deal that your dad worked in NASCAR, or was it like
To
it
some
is
people,
to
to some
Taylor?
people it was cool. To some people it was a cool thing, and then to other people it's just. Some people don't look at NASCAR as significant, so it just depends on the person. Some
I'm
people,
sure if you had some friends and you were like, "Hey,
some
my
friends,
dad
you know,
works in
yeah,
NASCAR,"
they would say that's really cool.
yeah.
But you know, but also to me, it sounds like he's asking, is it significant when you're around somebody like that? Does it make you feel any different? Like he's saying, you know, did my sister feel different because they're around somebody who's a
No, I think more he's talking about did it make you feel like different because you know because your dad worked in
It doesn't
NASCAR.
make me feel any different. You know, to me, I feel like you're born with.
Oh, I see what he's saying.
Yeah.
Were you closer to the other kids at school that had that?
Oh no
that connection.
No, to me, you know, I don't base people off of what their parents might have done. You know, to me, you make a connection with somebody just based off of who they are. It's not really so much about what their parents did. But of course that may bring you closer having that connection with somebody. I know a lot
Something
of people from my
common.
school were related to the Allisons, and I had a connection with them, but it didn't have nothing to do with NASCAR. It's more of a thing that you meet the person and then you're like, oh, well, you're related to the Allisons. It's not. You don't really make, you know, it's kind of an after connection. You don't really talk about it before. It's more of a, oh, you're related to, you know. So, no, that doesn't have much of an effect. You kind of meet some. I'm gonna tell you, person to meet somebody for who they are, and then you kind of make.
And being from around here, it's kind of like you kind of know everybody knows somebody in NASCAR in this part of the country.
Where we're at in Salisbury, Mooresville, Statesville, that's just huge. People move down here for NASCAR.
So Rachel says Paul had a great idea of allowing Cole to celebrate the Xfinity win if Hamlin won the Cup race. That was funny, Paul. Yeah, that's true. I mean, because he did. That's the sad part of it, is it took away that celebration, those winner's circle pictures, and then, you know, I'm sure Cole ends up with the trophy, but you took away the celebration for the team by, you know, so maybe this will set an example to where other people, if they're going to win a race, they're going to win it, not by cheating, you know. So I think it's good that they took it. Rachel says, I think it's great to know David Hamm, the engine man, as a friend. Thank you, Rachel. It's great to know all y'all as some friends too.
And I was gonna say, I think it's selfish of somebody like Denny Hamlin to cheat whenever he's been in the sport for a little bit longer.
He's a cup driver.
These younger guys, yeah, you're a cup driver. Some of these younger guys, they're trying to get their first, you know, nationwide or ARC or whatever win it is, and they want to, you know, you're taking away from, like you said, their enjoyment of that, doing the donuts or burnouts or whatever it is, and going to winner's circle. You take all that away from somebody who's a young guy, just like what position Denny Hamlin was in at one point. You know, you're kind of taking that away from somebody. So that's kind of selfish. Somebody do something like that.
Yeah. So
a lot of people don't like Denny Hamlin anyway.
So we're gonna do the he's different.
Point.
Yeah. So we're gonna do the cold beer, warm beer segment of the show. So the cold beer, who do y'all think gets a cold beer? Put your comments below. So I think that Eric Jones, who got his first win of the season, locking himself into the playoffs, gets a cold beer.
Kyle Larson, he's a young guy.
Yeah.
Did very well, finished second. I give him a cold beer.
He had top three finishes in the last 4 years.
Hasn't had any wins, but he's still in the running. He's still close to that running for the points. He's pretty close up there.
Yeah.
So I'd give him a cold beer.
All right. So as for warm beer, Jimmy Johnson, who was caught up in a multi-car crash after Daniel Hemrick blew a tire. Johnson had been running top 5 up until that point. Ended up 16th place.
Kyle Busch, you get a warm beer, even though you finished third. You had the fastest car. You ran into the wall how many times? I mean, come on, man. You can't ran into the wall probably 3 different times throughout the race. That's just.
Yeah, and we're back to we're talking about the cars being. So Linda Jean says, can't they do the inspection before they say who the winner is? Yeah, you know, a lot of local dirt tracks and stuff. That's what they do. You know, you got to go through inspections, whatever. But or they wait around after the inspections to make sure that you're the winner. The car passes, and then you go.
Somebody protest.
Yeah, Jake McVie says Larson is running good, just in time for the playoffs. Yeah, that's true.
Larson looked real good.
And how about all these fans waiting out the weather? That was pretty funny.
3
hours going up in the stands talking to one fan. His name was Kyle. Rachel says, "Do you think most drivers are cheating, or the drivers left in the dark with what's done with their race cars?" I think that they're not necessarily cheating, but some of them are pushing the gray area, so to speak. I mean, you get a rule book, and you can look through that rule book and just sort of like, this part has to be 100,000 stick. Well, what if I make it 98,000 stick?
Right.
Are they going to say anything about that? So yeah, you can push the envelope, so to speak.
I think a lot of them are left in the dark though, and they don't know about it. I don't think a lot of them know that their car is illegal.
Yeah, well, that's
They're
true.
just driving.
Yeah, a lot of
They
times
don't
that
know
falls.
it.
That's why you see the crew chief get suspended or the car chief. It's not usually the driver who gets suspended.
That's hard to
because they're
tell
not
if it's
usually
something
under
like
there.
he was saying. You don't hear a driver. It's very hard to tell unless you're there for the.
Yeah. The other warm beer was Michael McDowell, who was caught up in a multi-car crash with around 90 laps to go. It was his second consecutive finish of 37th or worse. Stuart Haas is talking to Go Fast about a potential new alliance. So we'll see how that goes.
Denny Hamlin gets a warm beer all day.
Yes.
Yeah, he got in a wreck and all those wrecks, and he got in about 3 different crashes in that whole race. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, dude.
So we're moving on to the what was the name of the race we're going to have up here?
The Big Machine Vodka 400. That's quite a name for the race. Big Machine Vodka 400.
At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Brickyard 400 race. So we're going Newman warm beer. So there's Jake McVie. That's right.
Newman's a crybaby. In my opinion, I'm not a big fan of Newman.
Yeah. So the race coming up next. The Indianapolis race is nicknamed the Brickyard. I'm going to have a couple of quiz questions here coming up. So y'all stick around for the quiz. Located in Speedway, Indiana, 6 miles from downtown Indianapolis. And Tom, how far is that from you, where you are in Indiana? So we got Tom in Indiana. We got Paul and Kit in Florida. We got Rachel's in Charlotte, and we've got Terry in Oklahoma. And I'm not sure where Jake is from. I forgot. Sorry about that, Jake. But tell us where you're from. And if I didn't mention your name, tell us in the comments where you're actually listening from. So we got the capacity for Indianapolis is 257,325 permanent seating, but 400,000 total. The Speedway is located about 6 miles from downtown Indianapolis.
Which I've been to before. I've been there before downtown.
Oh, you have?
FFA National Convention.
Oh, that's right.
In high school, I went to downtown Indianapolis, so I was there.
Yeah, and we had a chance to go to Indy if we won. Well, we won the state championship for Pinewood Derby, but
that's right. Yeah.
we didn't end up going and trying to win the whole deal. Let's see, but broke ground in March 15, 1909, which was 110 years ago. It opened August 12th, 1909. All right, so Linda Jinks is in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Jake's in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Very nice.
Wow.
That's one place that I'd like to go to someday.
Yeah, sure.
So Scranton and Gettysburg. We used to fly into Scranton all the time when we were going up to Pocono.
I think I've only been to Pittsburgh when it comes to Pennsylvania.
Yep. So they opened. Our construction cost $3 million. Now that would be $73 million in 2016 dollars. Okay. Surface is asphalt and brick with the little strip of bricks there at the start finish line. Distance is 2.5 miles exactly long. It's got 4 turns. The banks are 0 degree straights, 9.2 degree turns. And I don't know if I've ever the way that I've heard the way that they just figure out the banking of the tracks, at least back in the day, or let's say dirt tracks. It's called an angle of repose. If you take some sand and you hold it like this, or just dump out sand, the angle is going to be like this right here, on sand. But if you use like sand mixed with clay, it might be more like this or so. And that's called the angle of repose. So whenever you have a car going into a banking, that's where it's going to be the strongest. So they tend to make the angle of the tracks by that. So I've heard. Okay, so the dimensions have remained unchanged since its construction. It's 2 5/8 mile long straightaways, 4 geometrically identical quarter-mile turns connected by 2 1/8 inch mile short straights, termed the short chutes. First track was called a speedway.
The first track to be called a speedway.
Oh, it was the first track.
First one to be called a speedway.
Yeah. The highest capacity sports venue in the world, meaning I guess they can pack more fans than anywhere else.
Right.
I believe that because if you look on my Facebook and some of my pictures, and also if you don't follow me on Twitter, I'm DHamIam on Twitter, and you can see a lot of the pictures that I've put on there before. When I saw Kyle Petty well, I guess it's about a year ago or so, and he was telling his wife, "Hey, Morgan, this is DHamIam. He's the one that puts all these pictures on there that I was telling you about." So,
but one quick thing about the capacity is it was weird to see. I've only been to Bristol and I've been to Charlotte. It was kind of weird. It was a sold out crowd, but whenever you go to Charlotte, back when Charlotte had the extra stands that they took out, that seems like a lot of people. And at Darlington, you have those main stands, and then you kind of have that Earnhardt corner over there. But it just doesn't have the same feel, as far as capacity goes at Darlington. It kind of feels like a smaller environment, but it's a nice environment, especially in the infield.
So Jake McVee's asking, never been to Indy. Can you give me some info to know what to want to go? Parking, and I know it's so the parking is you know what? I've only gone there and got in a bus. So I fly to the airport, we get in a bus, we go in, we ride into the track. But I know that it's such a big track. I mean, if you can park in the infield, that would be great. If you're going, I'm pretty sure they would have shuttle buses getting in and out of there. So if there's, you park outside the track, pretty sure you can get shuttles to go inside the track. But it's always most tracks. You get there early, have a little tailgate party, take you a little nap, and then that way you're beating the traffic. You're already there.
If you don't get there early, you might do some walking in the shuttles.
Yeah,
the shuttles at Darlington only ran at the beginning of the race, so we got a nice shuttle when we got there early. But then later on, after the rain delay and such, we went back to the car. There was no shuttles. And after the race, no shuttles. So
take a walk. At that point,
you're doing some walking.
Linda's asked me, I know it's not NASCAR. What do you think about Pocono not having the Indy cars anymore? Be honest with you, I've never been an IndyCar fan. Can't say that I've ever actually even watched IndyCar race. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing one live, to see how fast they are.
They're going to race the IndyCars somewhere.
I'm just not a fan. To me, when I was a kid, not to offend anybody, that was always called Yankee racing, and that's just what we always called it.
There's a lot of foreign people in that sport as well.
Yeah, that was the other thing. It was a lot of foreign drivers and stuff. So I never really was into the Indy stuff. Being from the South, being from Charlotte, Race City, USA. Back then that was Race City, USA. So Indy was placed on a National Historic Registry, Historic Places in 1975. So one of the questions I was going to ask was, what year was the inaugural race held at Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Because 70 something.
Yeah, it was no. NASCAR.
Oh, NASCAR.
The inaugural NASCAR. So it's the Indianapolis here, and I'll get to that. But see if somebody's got that answer. The Indianapolis 500 shares the same race date as the Coca-Cola 600 on Memorial Weekend. A few drivers have competed in both races, aka double duty. John Andretti, Robbie Gordon, Tony Stewart, and Kurt Busch. Tony Stewart is the only one to complete all 1,100 miles.
Shout out to Robbie Gordon.
I know, Linda. That's why I said I didn't want to offend anybody by that. But that's just the way. When I was a kid, it was always, that's just the way it was. But yeah, Chad Hyder got it right. 1994. Jake, you're close. Good guess. 1994 was the time, and I believe. Let's see. It seems like I had a T-shirt back then, but I think Rick Mast ended up getting the win or the pole. Hey, got some people passing by out here. All right, so yeah, that's good. Linda says, no offense to pulling your leg. All right, so in the 60s and 70s, the Indy 500 and World 600, now Coke 600, were run on different days, and a few drivers done what was called a crossover. So that would have been Bobby Allison, Donnie Allison, Cale Yarborough, and Roy Yarborough. 1979, Neil Bonnet attempted to run the Indy 500, even if it meant missing the Charlotte race. So that was Neil Bonnet in 1979. How about that? So it was the only type of racing of the Indy 500. All right. So the Brickyard. Oh, that was the only other type of racing other than the Indy 500 to be held at Indianapolis Motor Speedway since 1916. Yes. Chad Outer said first pole. That must have been the Rick Mast thing. So I was trying to actually, okay. we'll get to that. So who is the driver that had the most wins at the Brickyard in the Cup Series, of course? So that's your next quiz question. Who driver that had the most wins? And also,
Most wins at Brickyard.
yeah, most wins at the Brickyard. And also, who is the team with the most wins? It kind of goes back to we had this quiz before, and it seemed like it was the same answers, same people.
Darryl Walsh.
Yeah.
I'm just
No.
throwing names out there.
No, the answer was Jeff Gordon has the most
Used to
wins.
be my driver. That was going to be my first guess when I was younger. I was a huge Gordon fan.
Yeah.
As much as I hate to say
So
it.
that being said, what's the team with the most wins? And I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Andrew.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to answer. Jeez, okay. All right. So what's the manufacturer with the most wins?
There you go. What's the manufacturer?
All right. So you should be able to get that one by the same answers that we've had here so far. Man, I'm getting to where I have to wear my glasses more often when I'm reading this stuff. All right. Yeah, Rachel says Paul, the NASCAR trivia king. All right. So the names of that would have been Chevrolet with 17. And I don't think I said how many. The team with the most wins was Hendrick Motorsports with 10 wins. All right. The names of the Brickyard winners are inscribed on the PPG trophy, which is permanently housed in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum.
And there's something inscribed on the bricks, right?
So, yeah, I forgot what it was there. Jeff Gordon is the most successful driver in the history of the race with 5 victories, 3 poles, most laps completed, most laps led, and most earnings, which would be fitting because he lived in Indiana. I know he was originally from California, and then he lived in Indiana, probably spent most of his time in Indiana. And the last winner there, who was the last winner? And I'm going to tell you what the driver said when he won last time. All right. So it was a driver that was driving for us with the Fords. And when he won, 2 years ago, he said, my goal is to win the pole at the Daytona 500. He told us this in one of our team meetings. my goal is to win the pole at the Daytona 500 or the Indianapolis 500. I'm sorry, Brickyard 500 in Indianapolis. And that was Brad. So Brad said that, but he said if he wins, he's going to walk around. He's going to randomly pick someone to give $10,000 to. All right. So that year he didn't win either one, but the next year he did win at Indy. And Doug Yates had said he was going to match the $10,000, but I know it was a different year, but it never did happen. I actually meant to say something to him, and I totally forgot last time I talked to him. So that's okay, though. But I guess, he would have been right because he didn't say what year he was talking about that year, and that was 2017. And he won it in 2018. So the garage area is famously known as Gasoline Alley. And I've got a lot more stuff about the history of Indianapolis, but if I read all that, I might have some people falling asleep. You can go online and find that stuff. I certainly don't want to bore anybody. But if you got any questions, throw them out there right now because we're going to open it up.
And the Brickyard has always been one of my favorite tracks, by the way. I've always enjoyed that track.
Yeah, it's
Just
a pretty
so
cool.
y'all know.
It's a
Always loved it. That and Martinsville, those are my 2 favorite tracks.
because probably because they got a lot of history, both of them,
Yeah.
and they're all right. So and if you don't already follow, make sure you hit the subscribe and hit the like on this video if you would, because I think that'll put it out to more people that can see it. And also you can follow me on Twitter, like I said earlier, at DHamIam, and on Instagram. It's all the same, D-H-A with 2 M's and then I-A-M. That is my Instagram and my Twitter. So check it out on there because I always post pictures when I'm on vacation, when I'm working on stuff, whatever, all kinds of stuff going on. And Rachel says, thank you for all your hard work for this Q&A, David. You did fantastic. Tyler, please come back.
Sure, definitely.
And then Jake says, are they using PJ1 racing? Not that good there. Are they going to use PJ1 at Indianapolis? I'm not really sure if they are or not. I haven't heard. Maybe that's something I need to look up, but I can check that out. Do a search. Somebody do a search right quick and find out for me, but maybe not. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for all your questions. Anybody have any more questions? I'm going to close it out in just a minute.
Shout out to my buddy Colt Corley. Shout out to his girlfriend Hannah, going to the race with me.
Hey, Suzette, she said that the Brickyard I always go, nothing on Indy or racing is boring, David. That's right. Thank you. I appreciate that, Suzette. I think she's saying that I wouldn't have put her to sleep if I'd have read all that. But yeah, shout out to Colt Corley, right?
Yes, sir. Colt Corley got me hooked up.
But I got 2 pages here that I could read about any history, but I'm sure y'all don't want to hear me ramble on. That's right. Yeah, this is one of my buddy Blaze Alexander with the old track phone racing. That's right.
R.I.P. to him and Adam Petty.
Yeah, that's right. Prayers for all of our friends down in the old Bahamas down here.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Up the east coast of Florida. Yeah, especially down in the Bahamas. I think they got it worse than anybody probably. So
yeah, beautiful
Suzette
place.
says, "Come back, Tyler." Linda Jinks, thank you, Linda. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll plan to see you next Monday evening at 7:30 for NASCAR Live Chat with Hamm. So make sure you tune in and tell your friends about it. We'll get some more people on here. And if y'all have any questions after I turn the video off, you can go on there and comment. Ask me anything. I get notifications to my phone. So that'd be great if you want to ask me anything or comment. Tell us how you like the show. Tell us anything you'd like to see me add or whatever. I'm open for it. So y'all have a great evening. Have a great rest of the week. Be safe out there and stay dry and follow your regulations and stuff. If they tell you to leave town for the hurricane, and maybe you should
leave.
You should dodge the bullet, so to speak. So anyway, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
Adios.